You're probably staring at a wall of options for a MIG welder, wondering if you'll end up spending a lot of cash on something that just sits in the corner while the projects keep piling up. I get that. The last thing you want is to buy a machine that looks good on paper, but can't handle the everyday jobs you actually have, or worse, one that needs a special outlet you don't even have. That hesitation is real, and it's why I spent some time digging into how the Millermatic 252 really behaves once it's out of the box and into the shop. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Millermatic 252 is not a tiny hobbyist unit you can toss onto a tabletop. It's built on a wheeled chassis that rolls like a small cart, which immediately tells you the manufacturer expects you to move it around a bit. That's a practical win for anyone with a garage or small workshop where space is at a premium, but you still need to get to a 208 or 230-volt outlet without hauling a 200-pound box up and down stairs. If you've ever tried to set up a welder on a cramped workbench and realized the cord is too short or the plug doesn't match, you'll appreciate that the Millermatic comes with a fairly long power cable and a plug that fits commercial-grade outlets. Now, let's talk about the actual welding experience. This machine is a MIG welder, which means it uses a consumable wire and a shielding gas to protect the weld pool. In my own setup, I've been using a standard 0.023-inch MIG wire with CO shielding for most of the projects, repairing a rusted-through section on a car frame, building a simple metal workbench, and even doing a few small art pieces for a local market. The machine's wire feed is smooth enough that you don't have to constantly adjust tension, and the voltage control knobs are positioned where you can reach them without stepping away from the workpiece. For those who are new to MIG welding, the learning curve is gentle once you set the correct wire speed and voltage for the thickness you're working with. The arc starts cleanly and stays consistent. One of the hidden trade-offs, though, is the power requirement. The Millermatic 252 runs on 208 or 230V, which you'll find in most commercial shops, but is not standard in a typical residential garage that only has 120V circuits. If you're the kind of DIYer who only has a standard household outlet, you'll either need to install a dedicated 240V line or look for a different welder that runs on 120V. That extra electrical work can add a few $100s to the overall cost and might be a deal breaker if you're not prepared for it. Another practical consideration is the duty cycle. At the higher amperage settings, say you're trying to weld 250 amps on a thick piece of steel, the machine can stay on for about 5 minutes before it needs a cool down period of roughly the same length. In a real-world scenario, that means you can't just sit there and run a marathon weld. You'll need to plan your work in short bursts, let the welder rest, then get back to it. For hobby projects, occasional repairs, or small batch production, that rhythm works fine. If you're running a full-time shop where you need to weld continuously for hours, you'll probably want a unit with a longer duty cycle or a dual welder setup. Who should actually consider buying the Millermatic 252? If you're a serious hobbyist who already has, or is willing to add, a 240V outlet in your workshop, you'll find this machine hits a sweet spot between price and performance. It's also a good fit for small business owners, think auto body shops, custom bike builders, or metal fabrication startups who need a portable unit that can be moved between bays. The wheeled base makes it easy to roll out to a job site within the same building, and the Miller brand's reputation for reliable service means you're not left stranded if something goes wrong. The fact that it's rated 4.3 out of 5 stars from a modest pool of 29 reviewers suggests that most owners are satisfied, even if we don't have detailed snippets to quote. On the other hand, you should skip this welder if you're looking for a plug-and-play solution that works straight out of a standard household outlet. It's also not the best choice for welders who need a high-volume, industrial-grade machine that can run for long stretches without cooling off. If your primary work is welding thick structural steel all day, a higher amperage, higher duty cycle system, perhaps a transformer-based stick welder,